welcome this evening to From the Shadowborn. I am joined once again by my wonderful player, Brian from Hong Kong. How are you doing, Brian?
Very good, very good.
Glad to hear it. Are you excited for what's going to happen to Raj?
Oh, yes, we're just about to find some combat.
Yeah. Just about to fight some combat and hopefully win. Otherwise, it's going to be a very short campaign.
Yes.
Okay, yes, absolutely. And thank you to all of you for joining us this very warm evening here in the UK, definitely. But yeah, it's apparently uncharacteristically warm. I know why. It's because I'm here and I hate the heat. So let's get right into it. Last time we were with young Raj, our tabaxi sorcerer. He had gone for a walk up the side of a cliff that overlooked the monastery. Oh, I beg your pardon. Monastery space of the priests who seem to have helped get him out of the surf. Whilst going up this cliffside, there were some sightings of what appeared to be gypsies of some kind. And then, unfortunately, whilst taking a rest under a large tree, the unfortunate individual known as Zil was set upon by a furry creature that dropped from the trees with a gnashing of teeth and slashing of claw. We did roll initiative, I think, but I forgot.
I don't think we did roll initiative at the end of. Okay. No, we just said we'd start combat when we started today's session.
That's where we are. All right, so if you would please roll initiative for me as we jump straight into it. Chat, do you think that our wily sorcerer is going to survive this encounter?
We shall find out, but not with my terrible first dice roll. That will be a 6.
And a natural 20 from me. Okay. Okay. Well, there we go. And Zil is going on a 16. So it is literally monster, Zil, and then you. There you go. There you go. The creature is on top of Zil, and you are vaguely aware of these kinds of beasts. You've heard tales of them, but you're not entirely sure what the thing's name is. As it's on Zil, you can see it opens up its mouth. These massive jaws open up, and it tries to clamp down on his shoulder. He is crying out in unhappiness, obviously. It gets a 17 to hit. It hits, and its teeth sink into his shoulder, dealing fairly small amounts of damage. It wrenches, it pulls, it tugs, and then it drops off and lands next to him. And that is its action for that turn. I will put them on the grid for those that like grids. Zil, clutching his shoulder, looks up at the beast, looks at you. He shouts, "Run!" And then he raises his hands, and it looks as if he's trying to cast something. As he raises his hands, he starts muttering under his breath, "The circle of life, life is death, death is rebirth, rebirth is life." As he's saying that, he then fires this bolt of pure white energy at the creature. The creature drops to the side, looks at him, licks its lips, and gets ready to pounce again. He's completely missed. What are you doing?
All right, my first action is to cast Blade Ward to give me resistance to piercing, slashing, and bludgeoning.
Lovely. You bring up this ward. What does it look like?
I would say a energy bubble around my body.
There you go. The swirling energy bubble. I like it. That's your first action. Is that a bonus or a reaction?
That is an action. That is a full action. So that's all I can do this turn.
All right. So you have a bubble of energy around you. I'm going to see if I can make you a bubble of... What color is your magic? I've forgotten.
This one is mostly transparent. Let's say it's bluish in color, in tint, though.
Okay, bluish in tint, mostly transparent. I'm going to drop it down to a radius of 1 foot. Okay, so you've got this glowing energy around you. As you have a movement action available to you?
Yes.
What you doing?
Raj is very distraught. He would like to save this guy, but he also does not want to hurt another feline creature. So he's got to make it, but he doesn't. He's got to make a split decision. Okay, for the moment, he's going to move away.
Okay, your full 30 feet or less?
Yeah, move my full 30 feet away.
All right. Now, the creature normally would have an attack of opportunity, but it's not because it's focused entirely on him. It's only just landed there. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So that puts you around about here. Is that the direction you wanted to head in?
Yeah, that works. That's good.
All right. Back to top of the round. The beast launches itself, mouth open once again at poor old Zill. Another 17 means that it slams into his chest, the jaws going for his throat. It rips bits of flesh away, and there's this crimson burst of color as blood starts to pour out of Zill's throat, spewing out, soaking his uniform, well, his robes. It lands chewing on the meat, but you can see that was merely a first strike. It's not done with him yet. He drops to a knee. He raises his hand. Raises his hand. Wow, okay. And this very faint green energy washes over him, and you can see the blood start to stop and slowly start to coagulate and cake over and turn brown. Back to you. What are you doing?
Okay, dropping a sacred flame onto the cat.
All right.
That's dexterity 13 save.
Dexterity 13 save. I hope he fails. Dexterity 13. He gets 12.
Sweet. So that's 6 points of damage.
6 points of damage. It shrieks in pain. Let me just check something here. Yep, it shrieks in pain, and it looks really unhappy. There, I'll drop a sacred flame on top of it. It looks really unhappy with this attack that you have done. Are you going to move?
No, I'll stay there for now.
All right. Its turn, it bolts and starts fleeing. Not the fire, it starts fleeing as fast as it possibly can along the pathway. You can see that it's heading basically towards the cliffside that is to your left. It looks as if it's going to try and get into those cliffs and just get away. It does not look happy at all. It gets to the base of the cliff, and that's as far as it can get this turn whilst it's still... It doesn't catch on fire with Sacred Flame, right?
No.
All right.
It's just a pillar of fire comes down on it. It doesn't catch.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's glowing from the pain and the fire that you've inflicted. Zill staggers to his feet, and he looks really dark for a moment. His face is clouded over. He looks really, really, really angry. And he starts to weave in front of him whilst repeating that phrase, life is death, death is life, life is rebirth, death is rebirth, life, etc., etc., as he's going around in his mantra. And then he projects out this bolt of black energy towards the creature. My dice are on fire tonight. That is a dirty 20. It slams into that poor thing. Does not finish it off, though. It does cause it to barrel roll. I'm going to get rid of that fire now. It causes the creature to slam against the side of the cliff and land amongst these flowers, heavily wounded. It doesn't look like it's got much left in it. What are you doing?
Okay, I'll go back to his side,
right,
and say that is enough. The creature has run away. Let it go.
He looks at you. Give me an insight check.
Insight check. That's 21.
Wow. He glares at you, and you can see just flickering across his eyes that he might just attack you. He seems so desperate to have blood or vengeance or revenge, or when you tell him no, he glares at you, and
is he still looking fairly injured?
Relatively. He does look. He's not bleeding profusely anymore from his neck, but he definitely doesn't look healthy.
I'm going to also cast Cure Wounds on him.
All right, you cast Cure Wounds upon him.
And that gives him 11 hit points back.
Oh, yes, his old frame seems to be back to the way that it was. He growls at you. We don't use healing.
Yes, I know, but in respect for life, I want to let this creature live, and let you live as well. Please let the creature be, in respect for life.
He looks at you, looks back at the creature. The creature by now has bound its way up the cliff and has disappeared from sight. He looks back at you. Those infernal beasts feed upon our flocks. They feed upon other members who want to go for a walk. I understand your position, however. I suppose, given its and your... I understand.
Good. Thank you for your understanding.
And I guess I owe you some thanks for restoring the pain that I would have suffered through for quite some time, had I had to heal naturally.
That was my pleasure. So, this walk that you are taking me on, are we near its end?
There is still some good way to go, but yes, I wonder... He starts to make his way along the path in the direction that you have been going in. I take it your leg did not heal naturally.
I will not lie to you. I did heal myself. I know that you do not wish to use healing magic, but I did not grow up with such traditions, so I did heal myself.
And that makes more sense now, yes. It is nothing to be ashamed of. The cult of life is often quite demanding in terms of what it expects from its followers. You handled yourself quite well in this battle. You didn't run, even though I said that you should. It's either bravery or stupidity.
Probably more of the latter.
I wonder. There is something that we have not told you yet, young Raj. And it may be of value for you to know it. There There is
Please.
more to the temple than just reflection and the experience of living life.
I felt as much.
Yes. We also offer the option of experiencing more than just the mundane existence of life. The temple has, well, let's just say at its heart, there are many who, like you, find yourself here or make a journey here, and who then wish to experience life in all of its danger. And as a cult of life, it is our duty to provide that option for them. Do you take my meaning?
Yes, I think I understand. There were some quite unusual noises from combat of some form, I believe.
There is an arena under the temple where, for the right coin, individuals can come and experience life. Not to the death, mind you. I appreciate what you did with that cat, even though I myself would have dispatched the mongrelous vermin. It is just to experience life. You might do quite well in there. There is occasionally a coin or two that is placed upon the combatants. More out of fun and experience of life than anything else.
I think that the experience could be beneficial, but how are the protections from dying if I should be so unlucky?
It's a good question to ask. Only the cautious do. The combatants are generally allowed to inflict whatever pain, suffering, and damage they will upon one another. That's part of the experience of life. But at the raising of a hand or the utterance of a word, and if neither are possible, by simply dropping to the ground and remaining on the ground, there are clerics at hand who will restore life and prevent death from happening, except in the most extreme circumstances, where they unfortunately do not get to the experiencer in time. But we haven't had a fatality in a very, very long time. Is that something that might work for you?
Yes, I think it would be useful for me to test myself.
Right. Well, in that case, then, I think perhaps we can actually return to the monastery. The view of the lake is certainly impressive, but in honesty, my task was simply to get you away from the temple during the main day's combats. We didn't want to upset you or to perhaps scare you away.
But tell me, as I am not a warrior myself, how is magic looked upon in this combat?
Provided that it isn't fired at against the monastery itself, and there are some archaic but effective dampening methods in place, it is absolutely acceptable. It is part of life, is it not?
Okay.
So you think then you might want to participate in
that? Yes, I think it would be worth the try. It could be quite exciting.
That's the sort of spirit we like to hear. You say you were a worshipper of the life cult?
Yes, as I said, my grandmother raised me in the life cult, yes.
Ever thought of joining the order?
The thought has crossed my mind, but so far I have been too involved in the family business to think about that.
He starts to lead you back down the path. I assume your blade barrier has dropped?
Yeah.
It can be very fulfilling to take the vows of the cult. Beneficial too if you know how to handle yourself properly. Something to think about. I should also point out those gypsies are not the Pickin gypsies. They are warriors, wizards, sorcerers like yourself, I would imagine, eager to try their powers in the arena.
I also felt as much.
Yes, I'm afraid I'm not very good at lying, it would appear. Nonetheless, if you wanted to leave, then you would be free to do so. Any one of them will have a caravan that will be heading back to one of the cities nearby, and I think a skilled sorcerer to accompany them in case of more of those drop bears would certainly be definitely welcomed on a journey like that. I must... Sorry, go on.
How are opponents chosen for?
It is a random draw. As in life, we do not know what we face, as is the arena.
Okay, interesting.
You might draw a sentient opponent, or you might very well draw a beast that has been carefully trained by us to make sure that it is able, upon command, to cease its attack. Again, that safety of combatants is important. It's about experience in combat, not dying in combat.
Okay. Well, before I think about leaving, I'm not in a hurry just yet, as all of my original plans have changed quite dramatically. Let me rest up for a day and perhaps try your combat tomorrow.
Yes, a very sensible approach to the entire situation. I must also ponder some of the things that you have said on our little journey this day. I trust that you do not look too harshly upon myself or the abbot. We felt the deception was necessary.
No, actually, that was probably prudent. I do not have a problem with that.
Very good. You continue your journey down the hill with Zill asking you questions about your family and where you come from and your interests. He does ask you one question quite specifically. What are your plans for the future?
Well, I would still like to finish the mission given to me by my father to go to Portios.
Yes, but beyond that?
Beyond that, I have not thought a lot about that, to be honest with you. I am still a young man. Would like to experience some of the world and see where that leads me.
I understand. Perhaps that is a cautious approach, but at the same time, if we do not expect something, whatever we get is gratefully received. I suppose one might say. Have you ever felt that you are being guided in a certain direction? As if fate might be trying to control your path?
Well, my magical abilities are not a normal thing in my family. It's not in every generation that it appears. My parents did not have this ability. My grandmother did. So that may be something.
Interesting.
But
Well,
I'd never really thought about it that way before.
I suppose a blank slate is better than nothing. That last comment he doesn't seem to make to you. He seems to make that more to himself than anything else. But eventually, after several hours of walking down the mountainside, you find yourself back at the base of the monastery. And everything seems to be in swift running order. When you step through the main gates, however, you haven't come this particular route before because you were unconscious at the time, but you find yourself in a very small courtyard. And overlooking that, the courtyard overlooks another space below it, this big grey space in front of you. And you can see in that space several fighters moving around, swords clanging and bashing. In the corners stand various clerics from the order observing the battle. And one large brute swings a very heavy axe into the guts of an elven archer. The elf doubles over, blood sprays everywhere, and then a loud blast of a horn sounds out. And the large brute with the axe has to step back. The clerics run over to the priest. There's a comforting glow of green energy as it washes over the elf, who then rolls over, looking incredibly pained and having to hold his clothing together because it's all been ripped to shreds with this axe attack, but looking alive. I see they've been at it already this morning. That's good. So yes, you wish to retire to your room now and recover until the morn, or is there something else that we might do? I need to refer to a book on something.
Is there? How much longer is the combat today? I would be interested in watching to see to learn about the space that I am to compete in.
Oh yes, absolutely. Of course, I'll take you there myself. He takes you to the spiral staircase in this next room. You know that there was that reception person who was sitting there and is now back, waiting for whoever needs to come through to sign up. And the stairs, as you know, go up and down, and this time he leads you down the stairs to the arena below. And what you can see here is, I need to just move the tokens across, but as you come down the stairs, there's a large cold room. It's actually quite empty. Why isn't it bringing your token across? Anyway, I will show you this instead. This is the base staircase that you see. I will unfreeze that. Yes, there we go. It's the base staircase, and that leads into a very small little side room, and then the main arena itself. So Zil shows you around, and he says, well, you can step into the arena, and as you do so, he waves to one of the clerics. Not a combatant, just observer. He shouldn't fight anything, really. And then he looks at you. I must retire. There is something I must check. Just one last question, Raj. I know you said when you arrived that you were bound for Pythos, but somehow found your way to the refuge of Hecaius, which is several hundred miles to the east of Pythos. You said you were having ship trouble, and that's why you were so off course.
Yes.
Were you navigating by the stars?
Actually, I was not the navigator, so I do not know.
But it could have been by the stars.
Possibly, yes.
Ah. Right. Well, in that case, then, I will probably see you at evening meal. Until such time, you're free to roam or to stay here and observe as you so desire.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. And I hope you are enjoying any remnants of pain that you may have received today.
I certainly will reflect upon the experience and remember to wear a spiked helmet next time I go out into the cliffside. That is certainly for sure. He then leaves you to observe, and that satyr that you saw bathing, I guess, in that pool of cleansing yesterday steps into the arena in front of you, and a priest walks up to him, checks that he complies with whatever the requirements are. You're not entirely sure. And then there is a nod. He steps back. On the opposite side, this very large creature. It looks like an insect of some kind, but let me just open it out here. It is huge. It staggers out of the doorway and towers over him. The monk adjourns back next to you, and I've just realized I can't access the names that I was given because of a thing, but the monk looks at you, he nods, he says, the name is Oberyn. Always nice to see you here. Well, to see new faces here anyway. Are you thinking of competing? Before
Yes.
you answer, he holds his finger up. Just a more. He pulls out a whistle and he blasts on the whistle, and then this horn sounds out, and immediately the two creatures, the giant insect creature starts moving in to attack the satyr, who is holding a very small buckler and a very long spear by the looks of things, and they start to circle one another, sizing each other up. Oberyn turns back to you. Sorry, you were saying?
Yes, I would like to try and see how I fare tomorrow.
You were the one who was found on the beach.
Yes, that is true.
So what do you make of it?
Make of what?
The prophecy?
What prophecy?
Excuse me, just a moment, he says, and he sidles away from you, looking at the satyr and the insect person, and it's very obvious that as he walks over in their sort of general direction, he shouts at them, that's right, keep following regulations, all right, good job, and then he ends up standing on the opposite side. Oops, I've just changed the satyr into him. He then ends up standing on the opposite side of the court from you. What do you do?
Okay. How big is this arena?
It is 10, 20, 30, 40 foot by about 45 feet in width.
Okay. Just trying to get a feel for any tactics I might use.
Sure. Let me give you a bigger map option. There we go. It's got some strange nooks and crannies to it, which could offer hiding opportunities, I guess, if that's what you wanted. We just add Oberyn here to the map. But yes, other than that, yeah, so Oberyn goes and stands over there. Let me give you a tour. Yeah, there's some strange shapes back in the far corner. It's just molding around architecture which extends upwards, floor above you. You can see etched and carved into the base of the actual arena itself an arcane circle of some kind. Without making an arcana check, you think this is what will affect magic, but you don't know how. If you want to, give me an arcana check.
All right. That would be a 13.
On a 13, you suspect that what this symbol does is that magic cast within a radius of this symbol will basically be contained within the radius of, if not the symbol, then a very small radius around the symbol. And by your guess, probably a 10-foot radius around the circle. So where Aubryn is standing, he would probably be safe, but as he shifts his weight over to the corner down here, he might be affected by magic because he's just outside of a 10-foot radius from that circle. That's what you're thinking. The insect launches a direct attack against the satyr. Its pincers busy going, the satyr blocking and fending as you are observing what's going on.
Okay. Is there a place to watch further fights for the day? Or is it just standing on the edge of the arena the only spectator
you
spot?
look up and you realize there are several windows and balconies which look out over this area, but they're all a floor up.
Okay. So yeah, I'd like to go back up to one of the spectator areas if possible.
Sure. Let's just jump up here quickly. And I will plop you for spectator space. The best one that you can find, I guess, would be up here. I will show it to you. It's in the wall, the outer wall, if you like, of that territory. So there you can see you are in the top section, in the wall section. So there's the main keep, and then you come into the wall and you look down over this combat that's happening down below you. And that sort of affords you the best viewing option. Let me just zoom out a little bit so you can have a better perspective. Your room is directly opposite you. That's where you were resting up, and you know the rest of the rooms to be around there. So yes, that is what plays out in front of you. Eventually it looks as if the satyr has somehow managed to climb onto the back of this giant creature. Whether or not it's going to affect it or kill it is uncertain, but that's what you are seeing.
Okay. Basically, I'd like to watch to see if there are any magic using combatants this day, just to get a feel for how they act around that circle.
Okay. Roll a d20 for me.
Okay. $19.
You spend the day watching the battles. Do you cheer? Do you develop favorites?
No, keeping pretty partial.
Okay. There is a sorcerer who steps in, and you want to say that they're an ice elf? You desperately want to call them an ice elf because they have pale blue skin and very long legs, long fingers as well, and they take on a particularly horrific pair, as a matter of fact, of, I think it's frogs, but they are gigantic in size. They really are massive. And this sorceress, well, or wizard, it's difficult to tell at the moment, is hurling magic around left, right, and center, busy burning these frogs. But with your careful observation, you see the magic flares out from her. Sometimes it hits one of these frog-like creatures. Sometimes it shoots wide. And as it gets to that 10-foot boundary line just outside of the circle, you can see there's a very faint shimmer of like this purple net, if you like. It suddenly becomes apparent, this purple net. The magic slams into it, and the net seems to absorb the magic, and then the net itself disappears.
Okay, so the magic's contained pretty much inside the circle. Okay.
Yeah, or about a block around the edge of it as well. Give me a perception check.
10.
You're not sure because she never leaves the center of the circle. One thing that she does very well, this wizard, because you're now convinced it's a wizard, not a sorcerer. One thing that this wizard does really, really, really well is that she controls the space. So the frog creatures have to move around to engage her. She stands right in the middle and does a really, really, really good job of controlling that space. After her, it looks to be 2 humans are allowed to fight, not monsters this time. It's a sword and shield versus a 2-hander, and as one might suspect, although the 2-hander destroys the shield, eventually the faster fighter with the single blade wins. And that's basically the run of the day. It's either creatures or it's people fighting one another.
Okay. All right. I think I know how I will handle myself in the next day. Okay.
Yeah, that evening it's mealtime. Everyone gets together for a meal. There's polite, casual conversation. You do notice that Zill is not present for the meal, however.
Interesting. Is Orden there?
Yes, he is. He's looking particularly tired, having run arena games all day, but yes, he is definitely there.
I approach him and say, tell me, what is this prophecy you speak of? Just out of curiosity.
He sort of looks around at the rest of the monks assembled. Somehow they all manage to sink deeper into their cowls or really get interested in this vegetable stew that they're having for dinner. The abbot seems to focus on a very, very, very important conversation with a wine decanter. And he says, it's a bit of nonsense, really. You don't have anything to worry about. I mean, if Zill would have thought it was appropriate for you, then yes, he would have probably said something. But if he hasn't, then it's okay. You don't have to worry about it.
Tell me, please. I'll take it as such nonsense. Just let me hear it. I'm just curious to learn more about your ways. That is all.
Oh, it's not our prophecy. It has nothing to do with the prophecy. Well, I suppose in a way it's ours, but it's not ours. No, it was written by a madman, Kovakos the Mad. Aye.
Okay.
1,400 years ago, if you believe the tales. I've not much believed it myself, really. And I couldn't tell you the prophecy offhand because I don't think any of us have actually ever read it. It's annoying. It only reveals parts of itself once they've become true or are about to become true. So it's a bit tricky to see where you're going sometimes. Damnedest thing, though, I do believe the only surviving copy, which is in Definii, which is on, well, it's as far away from here as you can possibly get. That's the original copy. Do you know that stupid bastard? He wrote it on phoenix skin. It burns itself up every hour and then takes a full day to restore itself. So you can only read a page or a bit at a time. It's very frustrating, apparently. Anyway, it's Zill's area of expertise, not mine. Although I do understand that it was the reason why... Just a second. He calls over, or he shouts, Abbot, Can I approach? And the abbot sort of nods. I'll be with you shortly. He scurries off. You can see him and the abbot in very deep discussion. There's a general talking going on. If you moved closer, you might be able to hear what they're saying.
Yeah. Let's see if I can overhear something.
All right. You surreptitiously sidle your way over towards them, and the conversation is basically, what do you mean he hasn't been told about the prophecy? Well, then Zill must believe it's not him, although that would be odd, because Zill said it was him. Where is Zill? And it kind of bounces backwards and forwards. I don't know. I'm not his keeper. Well, technically, you are the keeper of everyone here. And, so it kind of devolves away from the primary topic until eventually Orin looks back at you, sees where you are, looks back at the abbot, and he's like, well, I'm going to show him. How about that? I believe in transparency. And he's going to be fighting in the arena tomorrow anyway, which means that if he, then he can't be part of the prophecy, because it doesn't say anything about him losing his head. He turns back to you. Would you like to see the scrap that we've got?
Yes, please.
He takes you up the stair. Well, you're already in the cantina area, or the dining area of the fort, and he takes you into the library. And there's a desk in the middle of this library, lots of clutter upon it, as one might expect from a scriptorium, and no sign of anybody else. But on the main desk is several very large books and then a very old piece of paper. And this is what it has written upon it. When the jewel of the southern shore, lured by the light of the star, washes upon sands afar, will open life's very more. And then the second paragraph looks like it's been burned away or etched away. Is not particularly clear. I will send this to you as well so you can have a look at it. We were hoping you might be the jewel of the southern shore. After all, you do buy jewels, don't you?
Yes, and I do come from a southern shore. That is true.
That's exactly what we thought.
Mm.
Aye. Were you lured here by the light of a star?
I do not know if it was a star that guided us. It was my first time on a boat, so I do not know. Unless you call the gem a star, I don't know.
I'm not very good at prophecies. That's why I run the arena, to be perfectly honest with you. But you did wash up on sand. I know. I found you. I was out trying to collect beasties for the arena, and there you were on the sand, drenched. And at first I thought you might make a good addition to the menagerie, but then I realized, no, you're smarter than that. I won't deny it. There was some thought of maybe just anyway. So we'll open life's very more. Well, I mean, we are the cult of life. 3 out of 4 is not bad, but then again, I don't know. I don't follow prophecies, so it is what it is, I guess. I wonder where Zill is. Anyway,
does the rest of this page ever become visible?
This is just a copy that was made from the original texts in Delphinii. I would imagine, or I'm not very smart on these things. I'm just repeating what Zill told me yesterday afternoon. He was very excited when you arrived, by the way. You should see him every time a sailor washes up on the beach. Oh, this is the one, this is the one. And then it very seldom turns out to be the one.
And where has Zill gone off to today? No one has seen him?
Last I heard, he was taking you for a walk this morning in case you got a little bit unhappy with the arena situation. But once he left you in the arena with me, I can't say I've seen him at all.
Did he go for a cleansing, perhaps?
You'd have to ask Auric about that, I think.
Hmm.
Uh,
Look around and see if Auric's around.
he's certainly not in the scriptorium with you.
Okay. Oh, that's right. We've gone up to the scriptorium. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I thank you, sir, for your time. Thank you very much. That was very interesting.
No, it's not a problem.
Um,
About tomorrow.
yes, yes.
Technically, there's a roster that you have to be added into because we've got quite a few people outside, but the abbot said it's all right if I add you in. No one will really know. We run the lists anyway. And in theory, it's a random draw as to what you're fighting. But we consider you our guest, so we'd like to extend an offer to you. Do you want to fight a beast or do you want to fight a sentient being?
Actually, I am quite intrigued by the random element. Life is random, correct?
Aye, I can see why Zill likes you. Yeah, you absolutely are correct. Life is random. We never know what it's going to throw at us, so be prepared. All right, well, I'll take that to heart. I like you, young Ranch. Yeah. All right, well, I've got to prep for tomorrow, so I'll bid you a good night. If you see Zill, let him know that I told you about the prophecy. I didn't mean to steal his thunder, but I thought he'd already told you. So there we are.
Thank you again.
Yeah. He leaves, leaving you alone in the scriptorium, actually.
Okay.
I do have here, actually, if you want to see it. But yes.
On my way back to my room, I just want to go through the cleansing room and see if maybe Zill has been there or if he is still there.
All right. So you head on down to the cleansing room, and you, as you stumble into the cleansing room, let me just grab your token. As you stumble into the cleansing room, there is a frantic gathering of robes, and the reason for it is Oryx has clearly been actually just bathing in the pool, and he looks very guiltily at you holding his robes together. You needed a cleansing?
No, I was hoping to see if Zill had been in today.
No, I'm afraid not. I saw him leave with you. Then I saw him come back with you. Then I saw him leave once again. He seemed to be in quite a great hurry, heading towards the camps.
Okay, very interesting. Well, okay. Thank you very much.
You don't.
I shall retire for the night. Please, as you were, don't mind me.
Right. Okay. Good night, I guess. You head to your quarters?
Mm-hmm.
Right, you are. Everyone else seems to be sort of prepping to retire for the evening.
Yeah, definitely want to get try and get well rested for whatever excitement's available for me the next day.
Absolutely. It's easy enough. You get a good night's rest. You are restored of everything that you need to be restored of.
Okay. All right. And if nothing...
Are you not going to do anything that evening? No one interrupts you?
No, I'm not. I'm going to do my best just to get a good night's rest to recover all my spell energy and everything. Even though I only used one spell slot, yes. But I will need both of them, I'm sure, in the next day. The rest are cantrips, so
Yes.
Um,
Okay. You spend a night sleeping, and perhaps your mind dreams of hometown or something else. Is there a dream worth noting?
Nothing particular. Probably a little bit restless with excitement for the next day, but today's hike should have been enough exercise to let me sleep pretty well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. You are, well, the next morning you rise, you make your best preparations for combat, and then you are summoned to the arena by Aubryn. It's time for your match. Are you still sure you want to do this?
Yes, are there any weapons that I may choose from? Not that I am incredibly skilled with them, but uh, I have my own crossbow, but that is all that I have. Are there any melee weapon, maybe a staff or a dagger, just in case?
Oh, I can. Yeah, sure. He hands you this rather looks quite well made staff. Actually, it's not just a bit of wood. It's been turned. It's obviously been on a lathe, and the tips have got some very nice copper finishes, giving it quite a hefty weight to it. And it swings around quite nicely, quite a nice balance, and has a little bit of a spring, so it's not going to snap the moment you block with it. Will that do?
Yes, that would be very nice.
Then let's consider this the first a prize in potentia for your first victory, eh?
Okay.
He holds a bag up to you. Stick your hand in and pull out a disc. It'll tell us what you're fighting.
All right.
Roll a d20 for me. What did you get?
That is a 17.
17. He looks at you. He steps back. Well, I'm glad you don't just have a crossbow now. As he steps back, you notice that he casts some kind of spell. You're not entirely sure what it is. And the doors at the far end of the arena open, and lumbering out of it are two very undead looking skeletons that blindly walk forward. And Aubryn looks at you and he says, don't you worry, we've got them under control. You just have to do your thing. And the one skeleton steps forward. It looks vaguely familiar. And its jaw opens and this very ghostly voice says, "Ah, there be a sight for sore eyes." And we'll be back next week when we continue.
Nice.
When we continue with this adventure. Yes, there you go. So, something that I have seen done on another stream by a GM called the Dreaded DM. DM. I thought it was quite cool. We can do it or not. It's your choice. But what they did at the end of every session was reflect back upon a moment that they liked in that particular session for themselves, so what they did that they liked, and for the other participant.
Okay.
So off the top of your head, what did you particularly like? And chat, you're allowed to participate in this as well, by the way. Was there a moment in today's very short session that you particularly liked that Brian or Raj did? So what was a highlight for today? Or was there one?
For me, it was right at the beginning, just doing my best at seeing another feline creature, only slightly injuring it, just enough to scare it and make it go away without having to do too much damage to it. And hopefully making a friend in Zill, although he's disappeared on me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, I think poor old Captain Priceless had schoolwork to do, so his favourite session was not doing schoolwork, which he had to do. Sheena says, how you handle the feline. Stopping the kill of the feline, says T-Cats. Well, there we go. I think that's cool. David says it was Raj healing Zill, even though he knows that Zill hates magic. So yes, I have to say I really like that point as well, where it was, we're not just going to kill this thing, we're going to let it run away, and then defying the command to run. I really like that. I thought that was really cool. Yeah, chat seems to be going, it's like, yeah, definitely sparing the feline was a nice move, so there we go. That's great. And then Grizzle's saying they liked Aubryn and the rest of the order being nervous about the prophecy. I also like the way that you didn't just jump straight in and, okay, tell me about this prophecy. You were cautious and kind of got it from different angles and stuff. So I thought that was really cool. So there we go. I quite like it as a bit of a recap and a bit of a, this is what we liked. And there we go. So yes, chat, thank you for joining us this evening. And I will do a brief after game chat tonight. So stick around for that if you want to participate in spoilers and what was planned and what happened and what didn't happen. But for all of you, I wish you a fun good night. Tomorrow I will be playing in the Mercs of Mischief Twitch TV channel, twitch.tv/Mercs of Mischief, which will be the Through the Breach game, where I'm a character. I play a lawyer, a barrister in Victorian England. It's quite a lot of fun. Some great role-playing going on there under Michael Kesevan as the DM. And then Saturday is Hello World, and Sunday is live sessions with the GM. So plenty of opportunities for you to have your role-playing fix for this week. Brian, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you again next week, sir.
All right. See you.
There we go. All right. I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, let's jump straight into it tonight. I am baking. This room I'm in is absolutely hot. These lights, I've got to get some kind of air conditioning in here. Okay, so not a huge, wait a minute. I hate talking with myself in my ears. Okay, so let's see. Right. Okay, so this does contain spoilers about what's coming up next, as well as a review of what happened in today's session. So if you don't want those spoilers, leave now. You won't miss anything, I promise you. Right. Let's see. Over here in Germany, it feels too warm as well. Yeah, I think it's, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's not as hot as it used to get in South Africa, but I hate being hot. Okay. Right. So it was an interesting session. I had planned to get pretty much where I wanted to be. I mean, if we look at where we should be, let me just hide this chat for now. So if we look at where we should be, verbal battles stay in the cult and not get sold into slavery or added to the Monsters for Heroes fight. So I decided to abandon this whole idea of the cult turning him into a slave or not. I did do a throwback and drop in that they debated whether he should be excuse me, whether he should be part of the monsters or not, but that was it. I felt that that was going to be a very, very silly way of having to have a combat, and we had the drop bear, which I thought replaced that anyway. So from a pacing perspective, that's what we're trying to do. It is an interesting challenge that I have with Brian. He is a very careful player, and as a result, he likes to get as much information out of a scene as possible before he moves on, which is great. I need to remember that though. So my idea of a social and then a combat, a social and then a combat, it is something to bear in mind from a balancing perspective. Being trained in the cultish ways, we've already kind of handled with a bit of the conversation and him watching that fight. I loved how he did that. I mean, he did a lot of great things in today's session. As a single player, he did a lot of great sessions. He observed, he participated in the combat when he needed to, but he was very protective of himself in that combat first. Casting that shield up was a brilliant move. If the creature had finished off Zill, which was a great risk of doing, he literally managed to get off a healing spell to keep himself alive. If he hadn't, he would have quite easily died, and then the beast would have turned on poor old Raj. So that conversation, have you thought about joining the priesthood? You've got some very good things. The fact that he's leaning into it as well, I really like. Now, I think he might be playing a long con in terms of convincing these people that he really is dedicated to the life cult, or he may just be very dedicated to the life cult. Either way, it works really well, I think. So we've done that, and then this theft. Has Raj accused of doing it, or Raj participates in the arena? He has elected to participate in the arena. This whole accusing of theft thing, I think, is unnecessary and overly complicated. I don't think I need that at all. The find the thief and solve the riddle. This is the one that I'm going to be reworking, and there's a reason for it. I haven't had him find the being accused of it, so I can actually just take that sentence right out right now. And so that means that these last two things have to drop away because there is no thief, there's no theft. So I need to change. So what has changed? What has he discovered is different? So originally the plot was he gets to Pythios. He hasn't got to Pythios. Nothing has significantly changed, except now there is this giant prophecy, which he has now discovered. So he now needs to get more of this prophecy. He knows where it is now. I've told him multiple times it's in Definii. He needs to get there, and he got that prophecy. Now, yesterday we did a live stream where we actually worked out the prophecy that I gave him. And I'm glad that his eyes were, well, he was squinting because he was reading it really small. But I will send it to him so that he might be able to read it in full. Not the whole thing, just the pieces that he got. But anyway, all right, so where do we go? How do we twist this up? Well, quite frankly, the prophecy needs to be pinned. The prophecy needs to be pinned onto him. He needs to accept that the prophecy is for him and then choose to take it or not. So I need a confirmation. And I think the confirmation is coming up in the next line of the prophecy. So here is the full prophecy. You guys won't be able to read it very clearly at all until I zoom in. But the next line of the prophecy, I think, is going to work because I think this is how he's going to do it. He was very clever in terms of watching, but this is the line here. Death vanquished by cunning and guile. I think what I need to set up, all right? Death vanquished by cunning and guile. I started to set it up. Any guesses on what I did there? Hopefully you saw that. I liked it when Raj participates in the arena direction because I think there is a real danger that he would turn against the life cult. Yeah, absolutely. Captain Priceless hits it on the head straight away. I wonder, Guy, whether it's nice for you that he is sometimes difficult to read, like you just said about being interested or not in the life cult. I like to read my players, and for me it is the biggest barrier. The biggest barrier to playing online is not being able to read body language. I kid you not. if I was playing this in a one-on-one with Brian opposite me on the table, I would be looking at his feet. Now, feet tell you a lot of things in armchair psychology, because dependent on how your feet are positioned, usually is your personal attitude towards the situation. Because our feet are so far away from our brains, supposedly, this is a theory, you do things with your feet subconsciously that you are completely unaware of. I mean, for example, without thinking about it, what are your feet's position? What is their position right now? And it's an interesting one. When your feet are cocked on their sides, it's uncertainty or it's irritation. When you're bouncing your leg, it's boredom, or you kind of want to get something over and done with, you know. So there's a lot of things that one can do. And I often used to look at my players' feet rather than at their hands or whatever else. So yes, it is an interesting one. Not being able to read him as clearly, it does mean it keeps me on my toes. And I like that. I like the fact that he can be plotting. He doesn't have the advantage of other players to plot with, which is a major disadvantage. And one of the biggest things that we have to be very careful of with one-on-ones. Now, in tonight's session, something that I did very purposefully, very, very purposefully, was guided him in terms of the conversation. The NPCs were asking a lot of questions. Some of the questions I was testing, not him as the player, but his character. What are your plans in the future? And when he said, I don't have any plans, I was like, well, dang. And I think he doesn't have plans because he really wants to see where this is going, or he's playing his cards close to his chest. Either way, I don't mind. It's a lot of fun, and I will continue to have these NPCs ask him questions. I drove home the prophecy hard. Any of you who have watched these things, the whole idea of this one-on-one is exploring what are the differences. If I had a whole party, do you think they would have stayed? They would have looted the monastery by now, perhaps? Maybe they would have. I don't know. That combat on the mountain would have taken 40 minutes or so, because it wouldn't have just been one creature. It would have been multiple creatures, and it would be much more of an ambush. This really was just a setup. Once Raj, by the way, has killed these two skeletons, he will level up. That's definitely what's going to happen. Poor Zill running around on the beach searching for driftwood to fill the prophecy, Michael Beale says. Again, I needed to reassure and reaffirm the prophecy's importance to everybody in the monastery, and to give Raj what the other players would normally have been giving him, which was hints and suggestions and trying to figure stuff out. So yeah, it's definitely something that we need to be aware of when doing a one-on-one. So yes, by introducing the skeletons, and principally by introducing the pirate captain who led him astray, there seems to be one line which Brian hasn't yet connected the dots with, and I think it could be a combination of things. The line lured by the light of the star. I very specifically referred to the lighthouse as being a giant gem, a star in the night, that sort of thing, for intent, right? He doesn't seem to have put the two together. That we were going to go and steal the gem of the lighthouse, and that's what took them off the course. Maybe he has, and he's just lying to the NPCs. I have to be very aware of that fact too. Either way, I'm not sure. We need to see. So yes, he's going to fight the skeletons. They will be death vanquished by cunning and guile, because they're dead already. So yeah, let's see. His shipmates could say it again about the star. David Bridgman, yes, they could. But how much shoveling of information do we need? We could very easily say, I've returned, for you have failed to retrieve the star of the tower that you promised to get. We certainly could do that. It might be too heavy-handed. I don't know. And why is there no coffee? I forgot to make coffee. Anyway. So yes, certainly we could do that. So death is vanquished by cunning and guile. What we need to do, I need to just mute this quickly. What we need to do is to figure out this last kill plot and win, which is to either accept the prophecy or not accept the prophecy. So I think here's another question for you guys. Why do you think I took Zil out of the picture? Why do you think I've taken Zil away? I have nothing to drink here. Absolutely nothing. Why do you think I took Zil away from Brian? Whilst you're thinking about that, Felmoster says, what if part of the prophecy was given to the monks to have internal or intentional errors? Yes, it could have intentional errors. At this point, though, I would advise against that. Let him get the prophecy, and then if we wanted to do a red herring, we could give him a second prophecy, which is the alternative interpretation, for example. But I wouldn't start it off, because otherwise it becomes very, very, very confusing. Ben says, because he needed a holiday and for him to interact with someone else. Sure. Dragon Zil is having a crisis of faith. Make him feel more alone, says Michael Beale. David Bridgman says, because Zil doesn't want to tell him about the prophecy yet. All of your answers are potentially correct and all of your answers are potentially wrong. I have no idea why Zil is not there. I have absolutely no idea. I made Zil go away because I might need him to be doing something later on in order to finish off this plot. This is something that I do in my games on a fairly regular basis. The NPC's not there. Why? Maybe he has gone for a walk. Maybe he's gone to go and have relations with the cook. Maybe he has gone to go and look for more prophecy stuff. Maybe he has been abducted. Maybe he has died. There are so many reasons that he could have gone away. I put that into my back pocket as, okay, here's a little mystery. Here's a little thing to spice up the story, just a touch, or maybe not. It might be something, it might be nothing. Fight the two skeletons. Let's get you to that point. And then if I need Zil to come running into that courtyard, holding up the prophecy saying, it is you, that's absolutely fine. Where were you yesterday? Someone said they like tea-cats. To get Brian to open up with NPCs, he might probe more with questions. For sure. If there had been intent, absolutely. That's a very good one. A very, 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 very good one. But I had no plan other than this is a get out of jail free card. It's Zil is gone. Possibly Raj defeats the skeletons. The abbot comes to him and says, I am convinced that you are the one in the prophecy. And Zil was so convinced the damned fool has gone off on his own to go and try and find the next page, and he is going to perish. We beg you, please go and find Zil and bring him back. We don't want him to be lost in the wilderness. Quite easily we could do that. Quite easily we could do that, which then leads us onto our next adventure, and off we go. So I did not have an outcome in mind when I made Zil go away. It was simply a in the bag. And that is it is something that I do all the time, by the by. So kill, plot, and win. So the combat now will be a face-off with old pirate crew in arena. Okay, and in this case, the abbot shows prophecy to Raj and declares the prophecy begun. Okay. Captain Price says, why not do the Witcher way? The Witcher does not believe in destiny prophecies and the like, but there seems to be too much evidence saying that destiny exists. Absolutely. That's not my call, though. That's Roger's call. Does he believe in the prophecy? Does he not believe in the prophecy? I don't know. Sheena Tiger, once more, we learn that Guy the Great Gym has no clue what he is doing. I will take that as a tongue-in-cheek comment. It is true. I don't know the outcome of the action, but I consciously took the action. And that, I think, is one of the biggest take-homes from this channel. If you can take that, know what you can do, or don't know what you can do, but do something. Set yourself up so you can do something. I think that's important. Yeah, so Quest Magister says, typically you should always trust a prophecy in a D&D session. Absolutely. I did say to Brian before the show started, I said, listen, there is a prophecy floating around. You don't have to follow it if you don't want to. Follow it if you're interested in it. Don't follow it if you're not interested in it. It makes no difference to me whatsoever. And it really doesn't, because we will make it for, it'll unfold anyway. But yes, it is entirely his choice as to whether he wants to Witcher it or to accept it, basically. So yeah, having Zill maybe gone off to go and try and find something kind of pulls it back. Yeah, I gathered that, Sheena. I gathered that. Yes. Okay, so yeah. All right, I think that's it for tonight. Next week is pretty straightforward. The fight with the skeletons is not going to take long. Raj doesn't take a huge amount of time to react, so that's absolutely fine. He makes his decisions quite quickly, and I think he knows what he's doing. So yeah, I think it's going to be tough. I definitely think it's going to be tough. The skeletons are going to be quite, I don't want to say weak, but the one will be weak and the other one will be quite tough. The captain, I think, is going to be tough. The other one, not so much. We might pull some heartstrings by having it as the young cabin boy. His name I forget, but Dungeon Fog will tell me. What was his name? I want to say... Anyone in chat remember the name of the young boy who kept seeing waves and stuff? I don't remember his name. Kavar says priceless. I have opened up the map and lo and behold, Kavar it is. So well done to you, Captain Priceless. Yeah, it could be Kavar. So Captain Saranjan and then Kavar. So I do like, I must admit, Dungeon Fog has been providing us, well, I've been making all of the maps in Dungeon Fog, and I think they work pretty well. I mean, there's still some bugs, but this is not meant to be a VTT. It's meant to just be able to show off maps. So I am using it for something that it shouldn't be used for, but I think it does a pretty good job. What did you guys think? Because I'm going to end off now, but what did you think about the closing out where we talk about what we liked about the session? Like I said, I got that from Dreaded DM, so I will share the link because I feel sharing is caring. Yesterday, whilst I was doing stuff for the Circle of World Builders, I think it's Dreaded DM, I think. There we go. Dreaded GM. Okay, so that Twitch won't work. Hang on. Twitch.tv/Dreaded. Because he has dreadlocks, right? GM. Okay, there we go. Dreaded GM. Go see if we can find him. They run in the morning, so it's an awkward time for everybody because they're Australian. But what did you thought it was great? Mergendor says, I thought it was great. Ben Nicholson said it's good, and I think it's always good in games. Yeah. Isn't that what we should always do after the session when we say and ask everyone their opinions? Well, Captain Priceless, there's a little bit of a difference in terms of what do you like about the sessions, which I think are a little bit more broad than very specifically. Now, because it's only Brian and myself, it is a little bit weird. And I think what Dreaded GM did was also a little bit over the top because he had 6 players and all of them had to mention something nice about themselves and about each of their fellow players and the DM. So it was great, but I think it took them almost an hour to work through each of their various points. Maybe I'm exaggerating, half an hour. So I would make it random. You talk about you, you talk about you, you talk about you. And it's about cherishing the moment that happened. And yes, we should be talking about this, but it is a love fest, David Bridgman. It really is, and I think the opportunity is that maybe it's me, but I tend to forget that sort of thing, and I also take it as a, how do you guys think the session went? Everyone just goes, no, it was fun. What was your favorite moment in that particular session? I think works quite well. Anyway, okay. So, yes, Marie Listopad says, I like how deliberate and thoughtful the character is. Yes, I dislike murder hobos. Couldn't agree with you more. Absolutely. Let's see. Okay, good. I think we pretty much got it. There's not much more to talk about, so I'm going to end the stream, open some windows, and try and get the temperature in this room down from sauna. And we can take it from there. So we will see you either tomorrow morning for Mercs of on the Mercs of Mischief channel for Michael Kesevin's Through the Breach game, or on Saturday for Hello World, or Sunday for live sessions from a gym. Either way, lots of stuff to look forward to for the rest of the week and into the weekend. Until then, however, I wish you and all yours the very happiest of gaming.